Good evening, friends, and welcome to our nightly meditation practice. Things are going to be a little bit different tonight, not particularly long, because I did sit with my Riverside Zen Center group for an hour earlier, and I've been contemplating some questions being raised by my brother-in-law, Paul Krey. And so tonight I'm going to address a little bit to Paul. And I'm not sure if he'll watch or not. I'll let him know that I dedicated tonight to him. And then maybe this weekend he and I can have a nice discussion. As I do every night, I will begin my practice by paying homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So I understand from my sister, Laura, that my brother-in-law, I know he's a meditator, he meditates quite a bit, that my brother-in-law, Paul, has been struggling to find something more in his meditation practice. He's looking for, I don't know, I guess I'll find out when I talk to him more, but he's looking for, is there something more in our life? Is there a new level that we can only find through meditation? And I have a couple of answers for him, and I just wanted to address those tonight just a little bit. First, I want to answer it from a traditional Theravada, core basic Buddhist answer. And that was this. The Buddha says, I teach the Four Noble Truths. I teach there is suffering. I teach there is a cause of suffering. I teach there is a way to end suffering. And I teach that the Noble Eightfold Path is the path that leads to the end of suffering. That's what the Buddha teaches. And in a historical sense, all the Buddha's lessons were about how to end suffering. And so what did the Buddha attain under the Bodhi tree? He attained the end of suffering. So for my dear brother-in-law, Paul, if what you are seeking is the end of suffering, then the Buddha has pointed a way to do that. If you are seeking something else, then you have to decide what it is you're seeking. And if you don't know what you're seeking, then you're probably on the right path. Because the don't know mind is a Zen practice that teaches us to just accept life as it is. In the Zen Mahayana sense, all beings are already enlightened. We are just our enlightenment is clouded over with delusions, with greed, hatred, delusion, ignorance. Um, that's what prevents us from recognizing our own enlightenment. So I want to read to you. There's a Zen master who is kind of like the founder, the great-grandfather of my Zen order that I belong to. And he wrote a book called Dropping Ashes on the Buddha. And in that, he gives an example of what I think will help answer some of your questions, at least as I think I understand them. And the title of this chapter is Chapter 24 of Dropping Ashes on the Buddha, and it's called Enlightened and Unenlightened Are Empty Names. One Thursday evening after a Dharma talk at the Cambridge Zen Center, a student asked Sun Sa, which is Zen Master Sun San, is an enlightened man's behavior different from an unenlightened man's? The Zen Master said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This begins with 1. Where does 1 come from? Mind. Mind? Where does mind come from? The student couldn't answer. The Zen Master said, now your mind is don't know mind. You only don't know. Where does mind come from? What is mind? I don't know. This don't know is your true mind. This true mind cuts off all thinking. So mind is no mind. Why? True mind is empty mind. Empty mind is before thinking. Before thinking, there are no words and no speech. So mind is no mind. Mind is only a name. It is made by thinking. If you cut off thinking, then there is no mind. If you are thinking, you have opposites, good and bad, enlightened and unenlightened. But if you cut off thinking, there are no opposites. There are only the absolute. Opposite words are dead words. Absolute words are live words. Buddha said all things have Buddha nature. But Zen Master Joju, when someone asked him if a dog has Buddha nature, he said no. Which answer is correct, Buddhas or Jojus? I think I see that. They're just words. Yeah, just words. Then they are the same? It doesn't matter. But what I want to know is how a man with an empty mind differs in his behavior from a man with thinking mind. So I ask you, are Buddha's answer and Joju's answers different or the same? Well, all things have Buddha nature. Some people know they have Buddha nature and some people don't know they have Buddha nature. Maybe the dog doesn't know. Zen Master said, that's a very good answer. The dog doesn't know Buddha nature, so he has no Buddha nature. But if you gave me this answer during an interview, I would hit you 30 times. Why? I'm not answering to play a game, the student said. And if you ask your question about an enlightened man's behavior during an interview, I would also hit you 30 times. Do you understand? I understand that the question has no answer. It has many answers. But if you have not attained enlightenment, everything is different. If you attain enlightenment, all things become one. You must understand this. The student bowed and said, thank you very much. All things become one. That is the Taoist teaching of Zen Buddhism. That all things spring forth from the same substance. And therefore we are all one. All things are one. Only when we have a mind that attaches labels, that attaches name and form, as we so say in Buddhism, do we then begin to differentiate between things and begin to differentiate between an enlightened mind and an unenlightened mind. When the mind itself is still the same, it's how we perceive nature that we come to learn. So there are lots of Zen sayings that if you're searching for enlightenment, you're already on the wrong path. If you think you found enlightenment, you haven't found enlightenment. Because we become attached to concepts such as enlightenment, liberation. And we lose track of that natural before word, before definition mind, which is that all things in the universe are one. So that may not answer your question. And I think that's because you're asking an unanswerable question. There's a saying in Buddhism, you got to let it all go. And that means you got to let go of your attachments. You got to let go of your ideas. You got to let go of your concepts, pre-constructs that we have that say this is the way things are supposed to be. This is what should be. This is what is. Let go of it all and just accept it. And when you do that, you've let go of your attachments. You let go of your grasping. You've let go of your clinging. And you begin to see the world as it really is. And when you do that, you've attained a true realization. And when you have let go of all those things, as the Buddha teaches in a very core basic Buddhist beliefs, you have become liberated because you no longer suffer by the way the things are in the world. So, my advice to you is stop trying to find enlightenment. It's just a label. It's just an empty word. Enlightened and unenlightened. They're empty words. That's the Zen answer. That's the answer I can give you. When a lot of Zen practitioners are practicing their meditation, the concept that they strive for is empty mind, empty of labels, empty of attachment, empty of preconceived ideas. As Zen Master Sung San says, don't know mind. And I think when you begin to follow down that path, you'll find better answers than hoping that you're going to find that the world is somehow different than it really is. It's not the world that's going to change. It's how you perceive the world that will change. So that's my advice to my brother-in-law, Paul. The Buddha teaches many steps towards his path of liberation, towards the cessation of suffering. The primary path is the Noble Eightfold Path. But Zen gets even more basic than that. But the concepts are still the same. Let go of attachment, let go of grasping, let go of this idea that as a self, I am somehow different from the rest of the world. You're not. That self doesn't exist. And when you come to realize that, you'll realize what the Buddhist meditation practices are really teaching. So that's my discussion for tonight. We'll do a little bit of chanting meditation. And we'll end with reading the Bodhicitta prayer. So I've been looking for skillful ways to try to have that conversation. I'm not sure if that was skillful or not, but that's the Zen Buddhist reality of enlightenment. It's already inside you. You don't have to look for it. So, with that, I will lead us I'm not leading us, but I'm going to let us participate in a little bit of Kwanseum Bosal chanting. Kwanseum Bosal is the Avalokiteshvara, or Guanyin Bodhisattva of compassion. And there are many concepts of Guanyin or Avalokiteshvara, but it is the basic concept that is the Bodhisattva that hears our pleas and provides compassionate comfort to us. And you can look at that as some metaphysical, mystical reality, or you can just look at it in a manner that says compassion helps us understand the world. And that's how I see it. And so the concept of teaching compassion is how the Buddha teaches us that we are just one with the rest of the world. So let's listen to a little Kwanseum Bosal chanting.
무카살바다라 사다야 시베움 우마 무카살바다라 사다야 시베움 우마 무카살바다라 사다야 시베움 불솔수제길상 나라니 나무삼만다 무타나 마바라지야다 사사다남다냐타 옴카카카이에 카이에 옴옴 아바라 아바라바라바라바라바라 지따 지리지 파드 선지가 시리에 사바나무 삼만다 무타나 마바라지야다사 사다남다냐타 카카카에 카에 옴옴 아바라 아바라바라바라바라바라 지따 지리지 파드 선지가 시리에 사바나무 삼만다 무타나 마바라지야다사 사다남다냐타 카카카에 카에 옴옴 아바라 아바라바라바라바라바라 지따 지리지 파드 선지가 시리에 사바 복을 지는 오무로로 사야 묵게 사바 오무로로 사야 묵게 사바 오무로로 사야 묵게 사바 보양지는 삼마라 미만나 자르마 자그라바라 삼마라 만나 야르마 자그라바라 절친실령가 수지 대중수가 음진 어공가량 풍각에 무능진솔 불공
Thank you for joining me tonight. As we do each night, we will end the night with a reciting of the Bodhicitta prayer. So bear with me just a moment. I'm trying to get to my pages here. Here we go. The Bodhicitta prayer. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you again for joining me tonight, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow night as we continue our nightly meditation practice. Good night.